Hey, you, I want to ask you something. When I say the phrase American CEO, what is the first word that pops into your mind? Hey, and listen, I'll even be generous and give you a few seconds to think about it. Now, there are a lot of different answers to this question. Maybe some of you said rich, maybe some of you said snobby, maybe some of you even said smart, but I bet you the vast majority of you said greedy. And that is what I wanted to swan dive headfirst into today, and more particular, some of the comments that the out of touch CEO of Starbucks ranted on about in his last interview with the Wall Street Journal. Now, I need to get this off my chest. Me and the Wall Street Journal, we got some beef, and it's not from the obvious things like a paywall or uninteresting topics. I didn't work there or anything. It's actually because of their TOS. The admins over there run that website like a Discord moderator runs his Discord kittens. Strict and unfairly. Essentially striking you down or just trying to take any video that uses their own video content down. Which in my opinion is a big pile of doo-doo because it negates any sort of criticism towards their own video. So with all that being said, this isn't my first rodeo with the Wall Street Journal, and since this is such a small channel, I don't really have the resources or the drive, I guess you could say, to deal with their bullshit again with them striking down my videos. Which, by the way, if you're new here and want to help a small channel grow, then throw a sub my way, maybe even a like. It's free, helps me out tremendously. Thanks, guys. With the channel shilling aside, I want to talk about the CEO. Now, I have seen a few things about this guy from the past, from understaffing to low wages, you know, the CEO special. But when I saw this article headline from this CEO, it's just pure greed and delusion. Check this out. You smell that? It smells like a big pile of dung pie. It smells like and looks like I am trapped in a cage with some monkeys and they're flinging their shit at each other, because how in the hell are you supposed to tell me with a straight face that a $9 coffee is not a scam? Now, unfortunately, with the Wall Street Journal, I can't really go into the article itself. I would rather lick sandpaper than give these guys $16 a week or whatever the hell they're asking for. But something that obviously really isn't explained by just the news headline is that this whole $9 coffee situation is actually not just for the coffee, but for the quote-unquote experience that you get within Starbucks. Basically saying that the whole experience of like sitting there, you know, having relations with your barista, shit like that. Saying that you are paying $9 for a coffee because the quote-unquote experience of Starbucks offers you is nothing but bullshit. I'm sorry to splash the cold water in your face, but I have a news flash for you. Starbucks are literally just all the same. It's just a bunch of teenage girls working behind the counter wishing they could be anywhere else but there, and the occasional desk jockey slamming on his MacBook to give the look like he's actually there working, but instead of actually doing some productive work, he's probably just cruising the depth of Reddit looking for something to goon to. Now, there have only been a handful of times that I've cruised into Starbucks looking for an afternoon pick-me-up, and it's typically just an in and out thing or just a simple drive-through experience. My Starbucks experience is a Hail Mary. It's nothing but a desperate attempt to wake my ass back up from the afternoon slump. There isn't a $9 experience like the CEO is saying. There is only a pig dressed up in makeup saying that this whole experience is worth $9. Now, I just have to say this. You know how much I spend on coffee? Maybe 50 cents, because guess what? I drink the shitty ass instant coffee and it gets the job done just fine. And in my opinion, it's on the same level as Starbucks mid-ass coffee. Hell, depending on what brand of instant coffee you get, and I could say this with a straight face, depending on what brand you can get a through better experience than the Starbucks coffee with just a simple instant coffee. Shout out to Major Dickinson, which is a hilarious name, by the way. Now, unfortunately, like I said, the Wall Street Journal are a bunch of cucks and won't allow me access into their site without paying a weekly subscription fee of like $16 or whatever the fuck to access their content, and I'm sure shit ain't paying for that. Save it for the people who pay $9 a day for their Starbucks coffee. So we're gonna jump ship over here to another article that kind of runs through the gist of what the Wall Street Journal has to say. The article starts out strong here, throwing much needed shots at the CEO of Starbucks. I do not mean to vent, but what is up with the Starbucks CEO Brian Nicole's obscenely large compensation package? Nicole, who joined the company in 2024, is one of the best paid executives in the US, raking in 96 million big ones in just his first 4 months on the job, or 70 million euros for the convert. The man makes 6,666 times more than the company's typical employee, according to a 2025 Executive Pay Watch report. He also regularly commutes to work via private jet, Cannot expect a strategic genius, which is a far-fetched statement, to live next to the office like the rest of his hoi polloi or whatever the hell that says. So this guy, he's taking the Taylor Swift commute, taking a private jet just to get over fucking 4 blocks. What an absolute douchebag. Obviously seems like a good use of his money, which it seems like he has an infinite amount of. $96 million in just 4 months on the job, 6,666 times more than the company's normal employee. To be honest, if that was me, I would be absolutely fucking embarrassed of this statistic. Like, yeah, $96 million in 4 months, who the fuck wouldn't take that? You'd be dumb to say no to that. But it's mainly just due to the fact that's what I know I do not deserve in a CEO position, and this guy absolutely does not deserve that much compensation. You need to be spreading the wealth throughout the company. That's how you get people to fucking stay in the company. To be honest, if it was my choice, I'd probably just drizzle down the money. I don't need $96 million in 4 months, man. I don't need anywhere close to that to live comfortably. Even if I was rich, I wouldn't need that much to live comfortably. But let's take our $1 million man's salary and just break it down for shits and giggles. 4 months, 96 million clams, 16 working weeks in that time. Let's just take 8 hours a day for 5 days, because you know for a fact this guy ain't working shit past that. He makes $6 million a week or $150,000 an hour. Let that settle in. When this guy's flying his private jet around like a fucking douchebag, he probably made like 300K, 450K, I don't know, 2 hour, 3 hour flight times, who knows, right? You know, and I'm about to get personal here for a second. At the height of my money making experience, I didn't even reach $150,000. I was working fucking like 3 jobs, man. And yet this guy in 1 hour, by just spewing some diarrhea all over the wall with the Wall Street Journal by saying we need to make our coffees $9, he made $150K. And that's just where we are in society. I'm going to break down some numbers later in regards to employees and CEOs, so stick around for that. Still, while he might be good at flogging drinks, which I bet you he doesn't even know how to make any of the Starbucks drinks, Nicole apparently has trouble reading a room. As the cost of living surges and the federal minimum wage remains at $7.25, the CEO is getting roasted for calling a $9 coffee a really affordable experience. Speaking to the Wall Street Journal, Nicole noted that the K-shaped economy in which higher income households are thriving and splurging while the bottom half struggles isn't really affecting business. He says that the higher income households are quote unquote thriving, but in actuality that really isn't the case. I mean, it's very obvious, like the article stated, that this guy has trouble reading the room, because just take a look around. People are getting laid off left and right, the job market is tainted, and people can't even afford a fucking house in today's age. But yet, even in the darkest times, people spend and spend and spend. What gives? Well, what if I were to tell you that America alone are at the apex of consumer debt? Because without a doubt, we are reaching levels of stupid that the human mind is struggling to comprehend. I threw a little headline up onto the screen. As of Q4 2025, U.S. consumer debt has reached a new record high of $18.8 trillion, driven by record level mortgages, credit cards, and auto loans. And the scary part is that we're around halfway through 2025, which that alone is just absolutely insane to think about. But I bet you by the end of the year, we'll be over $20 trillion in consumer debt. So looking at all this debt, it's safe to say that yes, we have an abundance of quote unquote higher earners splurging on this shit, but I feel like it's a little bit of an overstep. Like, yes, there are higher class people spending money on $9 coffees, but I think it's safe to say that Stacy, who is making $14 an hour at the gas station, is also contributing to this splurging stat that they're showing up by buying her daily Starbies every single day. And like the article states, the cost of living is on the rise, and the federal minimum is still stuck in the prehistoric times at $7.25, which is just absolutely insane. How the hell are you supposed to live off of that? I saw this picture the other day on Facebook, which, yes, I know Facebook. Now that's some prehistoric shit, but it was laying all this out, and if I can find the post, I'll put it up on the screen. It was essentially saying, imagine your personal time, an hour of your day out of the 24 hours you get for a day isn't even worth a coffee. And if that doesn't show you where we are as a society, I don't know what will. People wasting an hour plus of their life so they can enjoy a mediocre product served to them on a stained CEO's platter. Absolutely insane. People want to have a special experience, and regardless of what your income level is, in some cases a $9 experience does feel like you are splurging, Nicole said. In other cases, people believe, well, it's less than $10 and I get a really premium experience. which I'm just going to go off the cuff here before reading the next part of the article. This guy is fucking absolutely delusional. I believe that the median salary inside of the United States is around $63,000, and with the high cost of living and just everything else going on inside of the world, this is quite literally the definition of splurging. Like, yes, can you afford a $9 coffee on like a $63,000 salary? Yeah, absolutely you can. Is it advised? No. To get a daily one? Hell no. I really am a firm believer in handling your priorities first to relieve the stress off of you, handling your mortgage, handling your kids, really whatever expenses come up during the month. And then if you can, spend a little bit on investing and a little bit on fun, kind of split those down the middle, right? Because I believe that there should be a healthy balance between fun and future-proofing yourself. And Starbucks is what I like to call a consumerism trap, a trap to try to get you to not take that path, to take care of your priorities, to take care of your investments, to take care of your just own personal life. But anyways, jumping back into the article, Nicole isn't exactly wrong. New York Magazine recently declared Starbucks caffeine-laced strawberry acai drink to be the status symbol of New York's teen elite. There is a large cohort of people, mainly people whose brains are still developing, I like that little side note, that's funny, who see Starbucks drink as an affordable luxury. Still, that does not stop Nicole from sounding out of touch. People are struggling to afford basic groceries, Brian. Now is not the time to wax lyrical about affordable $9 coffee. And everything in that last part is 100% correct. Like I said earlier, handling your priorities is the number one thing, and for this douchebag to say that $9 coffees is an affordable experience, yeah, shove it up your ass, dude. A little bit of a personal detail here. I am rimming on the age of 30, about to land into that unk status, but when I was younger, I used to think that Chipotle was an affordable thing to get every single day. I never thought of it as a luxury, I guess. I thought of it more as a necessity because obviously man's got to eat. It wasn't until 27, 28 years old when I became a little bit more money cautious, when my brain, I guess, was fully developed, like the article was stating, and I looked myself in the mirror and said, wow, dude, you just wasted thousands of dollars on something that you could have made at home in a matter of minutes. And on top of that, it was something that I could have made at home for like $3 or something. But there I was, wasting my money on a bowl of slop when I could have just been shoving my well-earned dollars into the stock market, into a vacation fund, or shit, just into my hobbies, or just getting some better groceries for myself. But going back to the money I wasted on Chipotle, the money I started saving when I started making my food every single day at home was night and day compared to the when I was buying food every single day from them. And I feel like this is even more relevant for the Starbucks coffee, but in this case, the coffee is actually cheaper and easier to make than my meal prep is. And like I said, maybe 50 cents a day on coffee, and I drink coffee all day, every single day. I go hit up Major Dickinson, he's got you covered. I will say, I do find the part where they said the acai drink from Starbucks is basically a status symbol upon the New York teens elite hilarious. Because who actually gives a shit? No one's gonna look you up and down as you're walking down the hallway with your overpriced fruit juice and say, wow, I wish I could be like that guy. I don't know. It just sounds like some stereotypical goofy teenager shit that you would see in only a movie. And now this might be a product of where I grew up, but when I was in school, I swear all kids did was talk in between classes, go to their classes, and go home. There wasn't really any status, I guess you could say, going on in my school. Like, yeah, you had your popular crowd, non-popular crowd, and anything that falls in between, but nobody was in your face like, oh yeah, look at my stupid Starbucks drink, like fucking waving it in your face, looking like the, oh, look at me kid. But let me know down in the comments, did you ever experience something like this when you were a teenager? Or if you are a teenager, do you see anything like this in your school currently? Now, that was pretty much the gist of this article, and I know I do hate the Wall Street Journal, but go check out the original video so you can just see this goofball CEO in action. It is truly something to behold on how delusional he really is. And again, the reason I didn't show you was because I didn't want to make this video and then go to war with the Wall Street Journal just to have it taken down by the end of the day. I would have loved to show it here, but they're just the hall monitors of fun and they'll slam us down at any chance they get. Now, typically this is where I end the video, but I kind of wanted to flip the video on top of its head and just yap about CEOs in general. This will kind of be a short segment, and if you want to click off the video here, I totally get it. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch to this point. Now, there was a segment that I was talking about how this guy made $96 million in 4 months. And in my last video, I was seeing a compensation package of $35 million towards the GameStop CEO. So here's the $1 million question I have after seeing all these fuck you numbers. When is enough enough? What do you even need $96 million for? What do you need $35 million for? To buy a fucking pointless yacht that you're probably going to use 2 times in its lifespan? I mean, shit, dude, you don't even need 5% of $96 million to have made it. You can just be done with life if you had 5% of that money. You could be more than done with life at that point. Now, I've always been a firm believer of money cannot buy you happiness, but it sure as shit can buy you comfort. You don't need that much money to feel comfortable, trust me. Like I said, 5% of that, that's getting you by. Like, that's getting you and your kids by just fine. But $96 million, $35 million in just 4 months, mind you, is just absolutely outrageous. Hell, I don't even think you need $100K a year in this expensive ass economy to feel comfortable. Yet these guys are raking in literally millions of dollars a month of what I believe is undeserved money. And that's not even me being salty. Think of what a CEO does. What does a CEO do that eclipses a normal operating staff? What, pays the bills? Make sure the money is there, makes delusional marketing decisions. And half the time I feel like a CEO is just appointing people to do all that work. But I'll tell you what a CEO never does, is actually operates the business. He is not the one pulling in the big bucks for the company. No, that's your sales position. No, that's your operating team. The grunts doing the work in the trenches to pull in the money to feed everyone in the company. Now, I know I'm hating on CEOs a little bit, and before I sound like a certified hater of CEOs, I'm really only directing this negative energy at the assholes who fail their way up and establish Fortune 500 companies. For example, take the former EA CEO, which said we need to charge people for reloading in a video game. Yeah, that's actually a real thing, by the way. Seems like a horrible decision, right? Well, yeah, he only made horrible decisions. I mean, come on, he was the guy running EA for fuck's sake. That company alone is just a horrible decision. It's just a jumbled up mess. And with those horrible decisions came consequences of being fired. But instead of maybe never being CEO again, he failed upward and landed as the CEO of Unity. I swear, all these dog shit CEOs, they just fail upwards. They get like a much better CEO position at some other company after making delusional ass decisions. Watch out, we'll probably see the Starbucks CEO end up as the Disney CEO before we die. And don't get me wrong, there are some CEOs in smaller companies that actually do shit. So I am not taking aim at the small mom and pop shop, startup, small companies. I'm just taking shots at the top 0.1% delusional CEOs who think they're all that. The CEOs that don't even know what the hell they're marketing. They just have a name and they just get assigned to some big Fortune 500 company for the sake of, I don't know, business experience. Again, going back to that whole EA CEO, that guy's never even played a video game in his life. Why the hell is he the CEO of EA? I actually think that the smaller companies are what is holding any sort of morality together in the world of consumerism, where the delusion is low and the energy is high and positive, where they actually are marketing something that they enjoy, something that they believe in. But jumping back to the overpaid practices of CEOs, why? Just why? Where has the wealth gap gone? Take a look at this chart below and tell me what happened here. Does any of this seem fair to you, that their salary basically just rides with the S&P 500, that their salary has essentially increased 1000% since the 80s? I mean, shit, look at the 80s. The typical worker pay and the CEO pay were practically the same all the way up until around the, late 80s, early 90s. And then just boom, the 2000s hit and it's just had an all-time fucking high. It's ridiculous. And I don't know if you remember, but we had a little thing called a recession, not once, but twice in the 2000s. One in 2001, I think it was, and one in 2008. But guess whose salaries survived? Yep, the CEOs. Actually, they were at an all-time fucking high, so yeah. Talk about market manipulation, am I right? But how is it that you and I, the people doing the grunt work, dragging in the money on our back, how has our pay only gone up like 10% since the 80s? Why is our pay not matching the S&P 500? Why are we not allowed to get a slice of the pie that the CEO gets? I mean, think about it. Anyone's replaceable, right? Why the hell is the CEO getting so much more than just a normal employee? It doesn't make any sense. Well, there's obviously a multitude of factors, but the way I see it is because of greed and just how the system is structured. A system built on nothing but bullshit and buzzwords used by these CEOs. And all that bullshit, all those buzzwords are laid within the stock market. I mean, think about it. Mass firings, mass wage cuts, it all leads up to the number going up for these companies, leading to these CEOs getting a pay raise year after year. And all they have to do is tell the shareholders what they want to hear and then do some shady shit in the background. And I feel like the stocks have gotten to the point where I feel like innovation isn't as relevant as it was back in the day, and that mass budget cuts, layoffs, and product reevaluations like the Starbucks $9 coffee are the only ways to get that number to go up anymore. Anyways, with all that being said, I think I'm going to end the video there. I feel like I've gotten my point across here, and if you've made it this far, you're an absolute legend. I really appreciate it. Also, just a quick side note, thank you for all the support recently. Each video has been eclipsing around 1,000 views, which is just absolutely fantastic for me and just the growth of the channel overall. So thank you to anyone who has contributed towards that. I really appreciate it. I'm going to leave a few videos up on the end screen that I think you'll like. And with all that being said, guys, I will see you later. Peace out.